Well, this is the display room, this is the shade house, and this is the workroom. And the workroom is shared with the gardens. People have stuff they want to do in here. They've got some space in here to do that. In here are books that, notebooks which have pages and show a little history of each orchid. And this is where they do most of the repotting right here. This is the medium, orchid medium. That's a handful of media, the media. It's not really soil, you see, it's just pieces of, this is bark and a few, I don't know what you call that, piece of a palm, I guess. Some charcoal, and this is called aliflor, these little balls, which are a little ceramic. They don't really like soil. There's only one orchid that we have here that likes soil, and it's called Ludicea. And we have about 6 or 8 plants. These are these styrofoam cookies. So the orchid consists of, you put it in, you put some styrofoam cookies around it, the base, empty pot, then you fill the rest, then you put the orchid in, kind of seed it, and then you put this medium in, and take it over to the sink and give it a little shot of fertilizer. And then, this is what's interesting. This is the nursery. When they're potting, this thing is usually full. When they go in the nursery, they don't get any water until you see the first little roots. Finally they get so hungry and thirsty, they start looking. That's why the roots come out. Where's the food? Where's the water? And when you see that, then it's time to put them out with the rest of the guys. The Orchid House, the 2 days a week we water. And one of those days we then fertilize. So they get watered twice, fertilized once a week. And then these guys, you see, these guys don't have any medium, they just hang in the air. They get watered every day. So these are vandas, and there's a bunch of them here, and there are more of them hanging outside. A place to let them sleep and rest and get ready to bloom, and when they start to bloom, we stick them in there. And then they sort them out. When they get ready to repot, they sort them into years, 2 years, usually repot in 2 years. So everything that hasn't been repotted for 2 years gets put in one area, and then that's what they work off of. Some of these go on, some of these have been here 15, 20 years, some of these orchids. And they're very hardy plants, really. They've got very specific needs, like these guys need to be watered every day. But they need a certain amount of sun, and that's why, of course, we have these covers on these places. Well, I think they're reasonably high maintenance because you always got to be looking for spikes. And most of the stuff that's out there, well, spikes, sooner or later we bring them in here. Put the ones that are finished here back outside in the shade house. The one thing they don't do is they don't clip the stem once it quits blooming. They say, oh, it's going to have another bloom. Never do that because it weakens the plant. The plant wants the stem cut off, and then it'll give you some new stems. So you have to have kind of a dormancy. Get them in the right spot for sunlight. That's if the leaves look too dark, they're not getting enough sun. Clip it with as soon as it finishes blooming, clip that spike, so bring it back down to plant level. B, don't use ice cubes to water your orchids. They hate that. And they've told us so. They'll get in trouble with the Orchid Union. This is a very complex science because there are, like 30,000 different kinds of orchids. Yeah. Most of them will grow, if you get the right climate, they'll grow anywhere you have that kind of a climate. For example, the vandas that we have here, the ones that hang there with no medium around and just the roots, they grow in Singapore. They grow them right out in fields. They put up a little fence, and they grow right in the fields, hanging on these fences. And that's 80 miles north of the equator, and that's where they grow. We give them sun, but we don't give them that much sun. This will put out this is called Schomburgkia. And it'll put out a stem that'll go way out over here somewhere, and then there'll be like 6 flowers on the end. So we've got probably half a dozen of these scattered around. And this is Ludicea. Remember I said it was planted in dirt, soil? That's what that is. Okay, these are the slipper orchids. They sit in water. And in the upper Midwest, I believe you see them in in the sides of the roads, in the ditches and the swales. And so they do grow in soil. We have them in the orchid medium. This is an Oncidium encyclio. It's it's in that family. Look at that spike just coming up. You'll have to go inside. Yeah, these are the phals, and they start there and they go all the way to the end. So there's a lot of them. And they bloom, they'll start spiking in November, late October, November. And then there'll be solid flowers until about March. That is a kiki. It's a baby orchid growing on the stem of its parent plant. And these are all new roots, and there's the stem, and we can break that off and put it in orchid medium and pot it. And that's probably where some of these started. Oh, it's interesting because there's always something different. And you find these things, and it tends to be hard work. You're on your feet a lot. But once you get your procedures down, it can be a lot of fun.